केवल ही देना उसमें हम लोगों ने तो हाय बोला भी था, फिर भी तुमने हमारे साथ ऐसे एटीट्यूड में बात की थी। मैं तो इतना सा बोल के भी
Hello all, good evening and welcome to the course Essentials of Data Science with R Software 1. So can somebody just confirm if you can hear me and if the screen is fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Also, yeah, I just request everybody to mute yourselves. And yeah, in case you have any questions, you could just unmute and you could stop me or you could ask like if you have any doubts. So, okay, I guess, yeah, let's start today's class. And before that, let me just introduce myself. I'm Prakrithi. I'm a PMR scholar and I'm a PhD student at the University of Queensland and IIT Delhi. It's a joint PhD program. So, yeah, I will be your teaching assistant, summarizing every week's lectures every Tuesday at 6 to 8 p.m. So, yeah, this course is about probability theory and statistical inference taught by Professor Shalab from IIT Kanpur. So, yeah, I'll be summarizing the week's lectures. So, in case you didn't have time to go through all of the videos, or you just running short of it, or you need revision, you could always like join these live sessions. So, these live sessions happen on Friday, Saturday, and Tuesday. So, I'll be handling Tuesday's live session. So yeah, I will also go through some of the previous year assignments to help you to solve your assignments and to help you practice hands-on with R and to help you with your doubts. So yeah, let me just see if enable the recording before we start. Yep. So let's start with the summary of week 1. So the first lecture is about an introduction to data science. So I'll talk about that and start with some basics of R programming. So can I just see a show of hands? Like how many of you have some experience with R? That's good. Yeah, see some hands. All right, so I'll just start with a brief introduction of data science and we'll see just how to start with R. I'll help you with the installation and I'll show you like how to work some basic things in R. And we'll just solve like one of the previous year's assignments. So what is data science? So in recent years, data science has become a very popular topic and it's of very high demand to know, get a job. So what is data science and what do you really understand from this term? So the first question is, what really is science? So what do you mean by science? So science is just a way to conclude and define things based on logical reasoning and to find the answers of questions in a scientific way. And statistics is one of these sciences which helps you in getting the answers in the logical, correct, and scientific way. So people started calling statistics as data science because it is a science that helps interpret data. So, well, when we are talking of data science, a basic objective is to get an answer to a question. So now what are the different subjects and what are the different types of tools to help us in getting the correct answer and in drawing the correct inference on the basis of a given data? So all these together make the subject of data science. So for example, if I say I get some data, so now I need to know what statistical tool I have to implement on it. For example, if I want to determine the marks of students, then I know like from a mathematical point of view, I need to do addition, calculate the percentage and so on. So similarly, when you talk about statistics, there are different types of tools which can be used. So there can be arithmetic mean, geometric mean, variance, standard deviation, like distributions, etc. But like which of these tools is going to give you the correct outcome? So when you're trying to determine the grades of the student on the basis of the marks obtained in the examination, here statistics helps. Like for example, when you have to do relative grading, you first have to see the average distribution of marks scored by all the students in the class, and like you want to grade relatively. So that's when you use other statistical operations. So yeah, what do you do when you're trying to deal with very large sizes of data? So you can imagine all these shopping websites, like these are accessed by many customers every day, like Google, Amazon, Flipkart, and all these. So these all these they handle data that is very huge and it's very difficult to handle manually. So if you have like 5 values, you can possibly find the average very easily. But if you have like 5 million, it's impossible. So in this case, computers are going to help us. But now again, the question is that we have to write down the program to inform the computer so that the computer does the things that we want. So here comes our role and intervention like in data science. And we also get help from the computer to perform what we want. And similarly, there can be some other types of subjects. For example, if you're trying to simulate an equipment from the medical field, possibly the medical science will also come into picture. So they will try to give different types of information, like about the instrument and how it's going to work. And then we will try to program the instrument based on what instrument it is. And then we'll try to simulate it and so on. So now you can understand why this is called science, because each subject is going to give you some information and approach, and each subject helps in knowing what we should do and how, like what we should do in order to get a correct, meaningful outcome from the data. So all this, like statistics, mathematics, computer science, etc., all these are constituents of data science. So now in the word data science, we have understood what is science. But now what is data? Data is a source of very reliable information. And what is data science? It's just a scientific approach of retrieving information from this data. So for example, like if there are two students and I have to decide which student is academically good and which student is like academically not very good. So one option is that I will try to look at the marks obtained in the exams and then I'll conclude that whichever student has higher marks is a better student. So I would not just look at one subject. So I'll have to look at all the subjects and overall performance. So the marks here are the data. So and based on that, I'm trying to use a scientific approach to determine which student is better like academically. And I'm simply trying to compare the marks. And so it's just this is part of data science. So now the question is, why is data needed? Why can't we just take arrive at some inference or the same conclusions without looking into the data? So data is collected to quench the thirst for knowledge and it is reflective of any outcome. So you can't just look at a student and say, oh, he must be like academically, he must be good at maths. You can't come to that conclusion. You need to look at the data that supports that statement. So data is a very important source of information, but the problem is that the data cannot speak for itself, but data has enormous information. So statistics is the language of data which communicates or establishes the communication between humans and the data. So now the next question is, how are we going to collect the data, how to analyze the data, and how to draw correct statistical inferences out of the data, and how to decide what tool I have to use to get meaningful information. So all these are part of, again, data science. And now the question is, why should I collect data? So there are many reasons for this. The first can be to verify theoretical findings. For example, if I say that higher salary or high income of a person increases the quality of life. So that is just a statement, but how will I support the statement, or how will you verify whether my statement is right or wrong? So for that, we can collect the data on the salary we can observe the living standards. We can correlate the living standards like other data struck points, like whether the standard of life is increasing or decreasing, like their lifestyle, hobbies, food habits, spending money, vacations, living conditions, and etc. And based on that, we can conclude whether by like with increased salary, the life is better, or with less salary, like life is not as good. So then after, like we could just do some correlation and try to make a conclusion that with higher salary, living condition is life is better. So now how to draw this statistical inference? So what types of tools are needed and what type of models are needed? Now how do you classify whether the standard is really increasing or decreasing? So these are all obtained on the basis of collected data. So developing statistical models, which can be further used for policy decision, classification, forecasting, prediction, etc. So that is the ultimate objective of statistics or equivalently the data science. So now we have understood that statistics is essentially a language of the data. So now, whenever you are trying to answer a question, we have understood that we need to collect the data. Now, there are two circumstances. So the data can be correct or the data can be wrong. So what do you mean by this? Like, for example, if I want to measure the average income and we collect the data on the height of the human beings who is earning the income. So are the heights of these people going to give any information about their income? So like, yeah, obviously that is not the correct data. So, well, in case if you want to know the average height of human beings of a particular population, or you want to calculate the BMI, like body mass index, then possibly collecting the data on heights of the human beings will make sense. But if you want to know the average income, then obviously the you have to just collect the monthly salary and how much tax, like how much he spends, like you have to collect other such information. So, but like, yeah, to know the average income, obviously the collection of data on income is going to make sense. So from that point of view, the data can always be classified as correct or wrong data. And now, whenever you are trying to collect the data, after that, the next step is to use a statistical tool to perform calculations with the data. So this tool can also be correct, or the statistical tool can also be wrong. So now based on the two classes of correct and wrong data and two classes of correct and wrong statistical tool application, we have four possible options. So when I say like the statistical method is wrong, so when I want to calculate the average income in a community, like I have to calculate an arithmetic mean, like I have to take a sum of everybody, like maybe height, like average height of a population. I need to calculate the sum of all the people divided by the total number of people. So instead of that, if I do subtraction or I do some division, that is the wrong thing to do. So that's what is meant by applying the wrong application. So first we try to use, like what could happen is we try to use a wrong statistical tool on the wrong data. So definitely it's going to give us an incorrect decision. Now we try to use the wrong tool on the correct data. So that again is going to give us an incorrect decision. Now I try to use correct tool, but on a wrong data. It's again going to give us meaningless information. And finally, I choose the correct statistical tool and correct data, and this is going to give us the correct decision. So now you can see here that this data science of statistics, they're all going to be useful in the sense that they're going to give you the correct statistical outcome only when you use the correct tools over the correct data. And that is the objective of the course. Like, how do you first of all identify what is correct data and how do you know what is the correct tool? So yeah, this just the simple rule here is like garbage in, garbage out. It means like if you give a wrong data and you're using a wrong tool, you're gonna get wrong information. And the only outcome is that you have to use correct tool with correctly observed data. So now when you come to statistics, that is the soul of data sciences. And there are different types of subjects which are contributing to the understanding of data science that can be descriptive statistics, probability theories, statistical inference, decision theory, Bayesian inference, frequentist inference, parametric inference, non-parametric inference, multivariate analysis, regression, um, simulation, Monte Carlo method, and so on. But there is always a point, like even I definitely don't know what all these are. Like, yeah, you have to learn at some point. Like when I started, I didn't know what these were. But then after like I started learning, I could apply them to kind of where they are actually. So there is always a point where you start. Uh, can you please unmute yourself? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, there is always a point where you have to start learning. And so this course is going to give you a starting point to learn all these topics and to help you understand what method to use for what kind of data and to make conclusions reliable and how do you like use it. Yeah, like what kind of coding you have to do to perform such analysis. So that's all that's going to be covered throughout this course. And then now, what are the expectations from a data scientist? So, what is really needed to become a data scientist? So, before we decide this, we have to first decide that suppose somebody wants to go into like medical field. So, first, like you have to decide whether you want to become a doctor or a compounder. So, compounder is just somebody who like makes formulations for the drugs, the medicines. So what is the difference between a doctor and a compounder? So the compounder will only follow the instructions of a doctor or a scientist, and the doctor is the one who is going to decide which medicine is going to work with a particular compound, or like which medicine is going to help the humans for a particular disease. So the compounder will just prepare the compound and will pass it on to the industry to like sell. So both of them are equally important, but they have different roles. So the compounder cannot take a call that which of the decision is going to do, or like which medicine is actually gonna work. So now between these two tools, you have to decide what you want to do. You want to just yeah, let me yeah. So yeah, now you have all like the whole uh, topic of data science. So between all these, you have to decide what you want to do. So do you want to just use the available tools, or do you want to understand only the utility of the tools? Like you just want to learn how to use the tools, or do you want to develop tools? Like you want to like write codes and to develop softwares to solve particular problems. Is that what you want to do? So I would say that you need to know all of these things to become a good data scientist. So like you need to know to develop tools, and you need to know to use tools and understand how the tools are used. So all these are essential components of becoming a good data scientist. And then earlier it was very difficult to collect the data. Sorry. Yeah. Earlier, it was very difficult to collect the data, and even many times the data was not available. But now the data is easily available, and there's actually like too much data. And like you can imagine the data of Google or Amazon servers. Like they are just storing huge amount of data every day. So earlier there was an emphasis only on the theoretical development in statistics, and you will see that this is because theoretical development is still the foundation for data science. and big data analysis. But many times after developing the theory, it was not possible to judge whether the tools were really working on a given data or not. And like, what is the quality of the statistical inferences that were drawn by applying the statistical tools? So later, like computers, maths, and statistics. So all these, they have become inseparable parts of data science, and they are together trying to give you all the information. So topics like artificial intelligence, machine learning, supervised learning, reinforced learning statistics. So all these are based on statistics, and they are based on computers. Like you can't do it manually. So that's why it's called like machine learning, because the machine does it. So the data science has various ingredients like statistics, maths, computer science, and different types of sciences. But the objective of statistics and data science are the same thing. So, and also computers have the limitations, like you said. So any code written will be implemented and it will give you some numbers. But it's the duty of a data scientist to like make sure the right thing is written so that the computer does the right thing and gives you reliable results. So, based on the obtained inferences from some analysis, proper interpretations are made and used for like policy formulation, policy prescription, and further applications like forecasting, etc. So, without learning the basic tools of statistics, it's not possible to learn data science. So, proper knowledge of all the fields is required to become a data scientist. So now let's move on to the next lecture, second lecture of week 1. So it is the introduction to R software, installing and working with R. So now what is R? So first of all, there are a lot of tools that can be used to perform statistical analysis. Some popular tools are SPSS, SAS, Minitab, Stata, MATLAB, etc. So another such software is R. It is advantageous because it is a free software and it does not need a license. So anybody can just download, install it, and use it. It is also easy to install and it's easy to use even for beginners to programming. Like the other tools, also they also take up a very large storage space in the computer. They also take up very large processing capacity. But R is like very easy and it's fast as well. So it can also, like R can be used to deal with any size of data. Like you just need to have a good processor. Like with local computers, like with the laptop you have, you can work with R, but only with small data. Like you cannot work with genomic data, for example, like data of DNA, it's like at least 50 GB. You cannot work with that big of a data on your local laptop. So for that, you just need computers like with higher processing and higher storage. But R has the capacity to deal with any kind of data. So yeah, like we said, it's used to perform any kind of analysis, and all the packages are open source. So open source not only means that it is free of cost, but you can also get the source code of how each function is built, like what codes are written to make a particular function work. So you could like get that information also, like by going back to the package and clicking on the function, and you'll be able to look at the source code. So yeah, you can also tailor the source code like to your needs. So it can also work on any platform like Windows, Linux, Mac, etc. and can handle any amount of data and can do any type of calculation, like I just said. And like after doing a particular analysis with R, you can also store your output results in any file format like a text file, a CSV, a comma separated file, or an Excel sheet. Or you can also save the images in PNG or even PDF format. And simulations are also possible with R. Yeah, so the R software is being developed by R development core team. So that is a group of people which is called as R development core team. In this team, there are various people from all over the world, from different academic institutes, industries, etc. And they all are trying to work together to develop this software. And the software is like freely available, like we already said, at this particular site, like www.rproject.org. And anybody can download the package directly from here. And this R software supports many free packages, uh, and which helps the data scientist and an analysis, and like a person to do analysis. So if you haven't installed or downloaded R yet, yeah, I'm just pasting the links here in the chat box, just in case. Yeah, so this is where you download R. So yeah, once R is installed, when you run the application, yeah, when you run the application, you can see the R console. It looks like this. So this is where you can see this greater than sign. So this is where you type your codes and you press enter so that the code gets executed. And then like now you have installed R. So R only comes with some basic functions. But to perform any analysis that you want, you have to install the necessary libraries that have the functions to perform such analysis. Functions are nothing but just like source codes that have been executed, and you could just, it's an easy way to perform a function. Like, for example, performing a task, like doing an average would first require you to calculate the sum and then divide by and then count the number of values and then divide by that number of values. So it's like a 3-step code. But like if you like, R has inbuilt function like just mean. So you just have to write mean and all the numbers that you want to calculate the average for. So just with that one word, it executes the whole 3-line command. So that's what function is. It just simplifies coding. So no, yeah. So to for these libraries to work, you have to install the packages. And for example, for basic and advanced data visualization, ggplot is the package that is widely used. So all packages under the CRAN repository can be installed using this command, install.packages, like bracket and then double quotes, the name of the package. So, and yeah, so while some packages mostly used in computational, but so I mean, like most of the packages could be found under CRAN repository, but some packages would just be in developmental version, or they might not have been submitted to CRAN. And like, for example, like most packages used in computational biology are deposited in a repository called bioconductor. So it can be installed through Bioconductor or even GitHub. So GitHub is where like people just develop something new and they put the source code over there. So you can install the packages from there as well. And but for that you need to use like other lines of code. You can't use install packages. You have to use something else. So yeah, we'll look that later on when we start practicing. So after installing the packages, you have to load the libraries so that the functions are loaded and are ready to use. So you first do install.packages ggplot, and then once it's installed, you do library ggplot to load all the functions that is built in ggplot. So yeah, these are just examples of other packages. And apart from these, like you would not know what to do with a particular package. So for that, you can just use help to get information about the libraries. Like for example, here, using library bracket help is equal to name of the package. So this gives you information about the package. So you'd have the name, the package version, the author, like who built the package, and what other dependency packages it uses. So like some packages, they require other packages also to work. So you will get that information. And it also tells you a description of what the package does. So you'll just get an overall idea. And yeah, you'd also find like tutorials and PDF documentations. So you just have to click on the link and it'll lead you to the website that tells you everything, like what each function in that particular package does. So next, moving on to lecture 3, installation and working with RStudio. So we have seen about R, but it would be easier to have a single place where we could write our scripts, execute the script, and see the output, and see what all objects we have created in the script. So all these at a single place would be good. Like if you remember in the R, you can just see a console, you can only type and execute the code. So that might not be an ideal way, like to easily do programming. So for that, RStudio helps us. So now RStudio is a platform that enables to look at everything at a single place. So it is an interface that uses R and helps make programming much easier. So it can be installed using the given links. It is built using C++ language. So this is also free and it's open source. So yeah, it's easy to install and use. I'm again pasting the links in case you haven't installed it. Yeah, if you have not installed it, just don't worry about it now. We'll do that later. So now, so this, like when you open, like when you install RStudio and you execute it, this is what you see. So when you open RStudio, you'll see these 4 windows. 1, 2, 3, 4. And window 1 is where you can write your scripts. So it's like just a blank page, like a document. You can just write your scripts here. And you can create a new file by clicking the drop down near this green plus sign. So the file could be an R script, which only contains the script. And you can also create an R markdown file where you write the scripts in a certain format such that the output of the executed script will be a HTML document or a PDF. So yeah, you'll know what script you've written and you'll also know what output it gives. And all the in like if you get any error, you'll find that information. If you find some warning message, you'll find that information also on your output HTML or PDF. So you can also create apps and websites using Shiny packages with R. So that is like the easiest way to create website. Like the easiest way to create a website is just like to use some online tools, like just drag and drop stuff. But like after that, the easiest way to build a website is using R Shiny. So you don't need to do JavaScript and all that complex programming. You don't need to learn that. So R Shiny can help you make like basic websites as well. And the window 2 that you see here, the second window, it is the console. So it is similar to the R console that you open while just executing R. So this is the console of RStudio. So you can type your commands here and it will be executed straight away. But it is better to directly write it on window 1 and execute so that the commands are documented. You can just save the script here. So yeah, the commands would be well documented and you can keep track in case anything goes wrong. So each line of the script or the whole script can be executed by selecting the line and clicking on this run button. And then we have window 3. So on window 3, you can look at all the objects created in R. Like you write a command, like for example, you write a command to read an Excel file and you store it in an object called X. Like it would be something like X is equal to read Excel, open Excel as like we'll look into that later. So you could see X here in this window and you can also see the structure of X. you could see like how many rows and how many columns that object has. You can also see the size, like 1 GB, 200 MB. You can also look at its size, and you could also see what kind of object it is. So there are different structures for objects. So it could be a data frame, it could be a vector, it could be a list, or it could be a matrix. So all these information can be seen here in this window. And then window 4 is where you see your outputs. So usually the plots are seen on the plots tab, and other information, like when you use help to get help information about a package, you could find that information here. So, and also like if you look at this packages, you could see all the list of packages you have installed. You could look at its version, and you can see all that information as well. So this is the basic structure of RStudio. So now let us see how to use R as a calculator to perform some basic mathematical operations. So yeah, just so here X is an object that stores a value. So we assign a value of 20 to X. So now if you just execute this line and you just type X again in the R console, the output would be 20. So to assign something to an object, you could use this arrow kind of a sign, like less than, and then just the minus sign, like an arrow. And you can also use equal to sign. And yeah, R can be used as a calculator, like directly it can perform any operation. So yeah, plus is used for addition, minus is used for subtraction, like it is generally used. So yeah, if you just type 6 plus 4, the output would be 10. So you could do addition, subtraction, and you can also do multiplication and division. But for multiplication, you don't have the into the cross symbol. So for multiplication, use the asterisk symbol. And then for division, you use slash. So it gives you the output. And then you could also calculate power, like you want to calculate 2 power of 3. So here you can't like do superscript. So instead of that, you write 2 caret. So this thing is called caret. So you write 2 power 2 caret 3, it gives you 8. So instead of caret, you can also use a double asterisk. So a single asterisk means multiplication. So if you do 2 single asterisk 3, 2 3s are, it would be like 6. And if you do 2 double asterisk 3, it will be 2 to the power 3. So it is 8. So and then yeah, the operations also follow the general board mass rule. So you don't have to worry about like which order to perform the operation. So if you just like write a command, so it will follow the board mass rule. And also, yeah, let's look at that. And also like R is case sensitive. Like for example, in Python, let's say you store an object in small x. But yeah, when you type capital X later on, it will use what you wrote in small x. But R is not like that. R is case sensitive. So small x is different from capital X. So they are, so it's just like small x is not equal to capital X. So yeah, you have to be specific about the cases, uppercase and lower case. And then moving on to the next lecture, it's calculation with data vectors. So in R programming, a vector is the most common data structure. So this is a vector. So this is how you define a vector. So it is basically an array of data elements. So each of the same type. Like all of these, if like one, what is this? Like one element is a number, all the elements have to be numbers. And if one element is an alphabet or a word, like everything have to be the same. So they're basically an array of similar data structures. So the elements could be integers, like characters, or complex and decimal numbers or anything. So yeah, even if you create a single value in R, it creates a vector with a size of 1. So like x is equal to 20. So that was a vector of size 1. So here it's a vector of 4 elements. So it has like size 4. Now when we perform an operation on a vector, that operation is applied to each element of the vector. So we do this vector plus 5. So 5 is added to each element of the vector. So what happens is, so the output size also would be same as the vector size. So vector has 4 elements, the output will also have 4 elements. But yeah, so what this will do, it will do 3 plus 5, 4 plus 5, and then 5 plus 5, and then 6 plus 5. That is your output. So now, let's say you just add two vectors of different sizes. So what it will do is it will first do like first element and first element, second element and second element, but there's no third element here. So again, it does third element and first element, fourth element and second element. So it just keeps repeating itself. But you'll get a warning message saying the vectors are not of same size. So this is how addition works. You could also do subtraction. So this would just be 3 minus minus 3, which is 3 plus 3. Yeah, so you just like do the operation on each of these elements. And yeah, similarly, you could do multiplication, division, and all of that. And the next one is built-in commands and plotting. Now let us look at some built-in commands and some basic plotting functions. So some functions are already built in and are available to use without performing the mathematical function step by step. Like if you remember that average thing I was talking about. So you don't have to do like the 3 steps that's needed to calculate the average. You just need to use this built-in function, which is mean, and the list of elements. So it calculates an average. So 5 plus 6 plus 2 plus 9 plus 1 would be 23. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. So 23 divided by 5 would be 4.6. So yeah, it does it by itself. You just need to use this function. Yeah, and similarly, if you want to find the maximum number of a list of elements, you use the max function. So max of 2.4, 7.3, minus 3.0, and 4 is 7.3. So you get that answer. And similarly, to find the minimum values, you use min function. And apart from that, like there are several functions. You could just, if you don't know what to do, you can just Google like how to calculate mean with R. Yeah, so that will just tell you what to do. And yeah, for absolute value, you use abs. So like absolute of minus 3 would be 3. And then square root of a number is SQRT. And then to round off a number, sum, product, the log, then exponential, sine, cos, all these hyperbolic functions, trigonometric, exponential, all these functions can be done with R and they have built-in functions. So you don't have to manually sit and write the code. So now let us look at some basic plotting functions. So plots, these provide first-hand visual information about the nature and the degree of relationship between two variables. So the relationship could be linear or non-linear and could follow any kind of distribution. It could be binomial distribution or it could follow normal distribution. So we would know that when we visualize them, like without going deeper into the analysis, if you just visualize the structure of the data, you'll get to know what kind of trend is being followed. So let's look at some examples of several plots. So for example, let's see the relationship between mark obtained by students and the number of hours a student spends every week on studying. So we define two variable objects. Marks is one object, number of hours spent is another object. So these two objects would be of the same size. Like one student has scored 337 marks and he or she has spent 23 hours in a week studying. So to see if these are correlated, yeah, you do the basic scatter plots. So they could be plotted using the plot function. So the default is just a scatter plot for dots against each of the x and y values. You can also define the type of plot you want. Like you just specify p for points, but this is the default. If you don't specify anything, you'll just p will be applied and you will see like a scatter plot with just dots. And if you want lines, like lines instead of dots, like a continuous trend, you can specify L. So if you want to see both the data points and how the lines connect them, you can use B for both. And O for overplotted. So overplotting is generally when the data or labels in a data visualization overlap, making it difficult to see individual data points in the plot. So overplotting typically occurs when there are either a large number of data points or a small number of unique values in the data set. And you can also do S for stair steps. So it could, like instead of just drawing a line, it will draw something like a step. So data points are shown as a series of horizontal and vertical steps using the step line plots. Sometimes this is also referred to as step plot or stair plots, which so it's basically a style of data visualization used in R and other data analysis tools. So these charts are especially helpful for displaying data such as time series or cumulative data, so that changes dramatically at a precise time point, or like you just want to see the expression trend, I mean the pattern of the data over a course of time. So yeah, we'll just see how to make all these plots in R and what they will look like and what it tells about the data. And H can be used for histograms, which is like vertical, like bar plots, but basically a continuous bar plots. So here is an example of what command to use to show marks versus R's. So this is a point scatter plot. So you use plot R's comma marks. So if you remember, we created two objects, marks and R's. So you want to plot R's in the x-axis, you put R's, and marks in the y-axis, and so marks. So you could see this. So this is just a normal scatter plot with points. So then you have lines. You just see the line, the trend here. And B, you can see both the data points and the lines connecting them. And this is overplotted. But since there are not many data points here, and there are not data points that like are crowded, it looks very similar to this plot. You don't see much difference here. And this is for histogram. It's just like vertical lines. And then S is for the stairs plot. You can see steps. So from all of these plots, from any of these, like anything, you don't have to do all these plots to come to a conclusion. You can just do any of these, and you can overall conclude that there is a linear, almost a linear relationship between hours spent and marks scored. So which means like if a student spends more time on studying, he or she scores higher marks, and less time spent, the marks also less. So this is how plots help in easily interpreting the data. So now let us look at logical operators and sampling of data. So less than, greater than, or equal to. So all these are not mathematical operators. Like mathematical operators are plus, minus, like division, multiplication, and all that. But these less than, greater than, and equal to, they are logical operators. It tells us whether a comparison is true or false. So here's a table of how to use logical operators. Like, yeah, greater than, this is greater than or equal to, and here's less than, and less than or equal to, and if exactly equal to. Like if you want to say, is x equal to 1? So if you want to ask the computer this question, you have to do like, is x equal to 1? And this exclamatory mark followed by an equal to sign means not equal to. And just an exclamation means negation. So if x is not 1 means like x negation 1, something like that. And then, yeah, so these are logical operators and comparisons. So true or false are the reserved words denoting logical constants. And XOR, this inbuilt function is used to uh, conclude like whether it's like either or. Is true is true of X is to test if X is true. And true means true, false means false. So let's see some examples. So if you just write 8 greater than 7, so it is true. So the R output would be true. 7 less than 5 is false, so you get false. So now you again question like is, so this is basically the same. If you simply write 8 less than 6, it will still give you true or false. You could also do is true 8 less than 6, so it gives you false. Yeah, you could use any of these functions or these logical operators to get the answer. So now what you do, you assign a value for x 5, and you do like AND operation. You perform AND operation. So this is true only when both these terms are correct. So x is less than 10. So this means 5 is less than 10. That is true. And 5 is greater than 0 is also true. So because both of these are true, the output would be true. Yeah, in the previous example, like if one of these is false, the answer would be false. And here, now we use either or. Like for that, we use a double pipe. So now x is less than 5 is true. X is greater than 5 is, like 5 is not greater than 5. 5 is equal to 5. So this is false. But here, since like one of these conditions is true, the output is true. Because you're just checking like, is this true or this true? Like either one has to be true. And here, like 5 is greater than 10 is false. This is also false. So both are false. So you get false. Like if any one of them is true, you get true. If both are true, you get true. And if both are false, you get false. And then now equal to. So like x is equal to 10 and y is 20. We are defining it. So here also like you use and both of these are true. So x is 10, y is 20. So it's true. But here x is equal to 10 is true, but y is equal to 2 is false. So you get false because it's an AND operation here. So the next topic is random sampling. So using simple random sampling allows researchers to make generalizations about a specific population and to leave out any bias. Like using statistical techniques, inferences, and predictions can be made about the population without having to survey or collect data from every individual in that population. Sampling is just taking a subset of the population and doing the analysis and coming to a conclusion. For example, to say that any observation is statistically significant, you must have seen that a p-value is calculated. Like anything, like if p-value is less than 0.05, the data is significant. So, how exactly do you think this p-value is calculated? So, by calculating p-value through random sampling, we are trying to figure out how likely it is to observe the results we have by pure chance. Like, let's say you have some data and you want to test a hypothesis. So, the p-value helps you assess whether the observed results are unusual or could have occurred just by random luck. So it is basically the probability that an event occurs by chance for any randomly chosen data points. So a low p-value, which is usually like less than 0.05, is desired. So this indicates low probability of occurrence by chance and that the observation occurs based on a reason. Like for example, like if you just pick any random points, you get the same output irrespective of it. It doesn't mean that the data is statistically significant. But you have to like pick like if it occurs by chance, it doesn't mean the hypothesis is true. Like it has to occur because of a particular reason. So the thing I'm trying to say is like even the p-value calculation is based on random sampling. So let's see how to do random sampling with R. So random sampling, like the simple random sampling is a method of selection of a sample comprising of n number of sampling units from the population having capital N number of units, such that every sampling unit has an equal chance of being chosen. So this random sampling can be either with replacement or without replacement. So in simple random sampling without replacement, the sampling units are chosen without replacement in the sense that the units that are chosen once are not placed back in the population. And then the sampling, like simple random sampling with replacement means that the sampling units are chosen with replacement in the sense that the chosen units are placed back in the population. So let's say like I just have a bag with colorful balls. So let's say we have violet, blue, white, green, yellow, orange, red, pink, brown. We have all these colors. But I just have to pick 3 balls. So for simple random sampling without replacement, I take one ball, let's say it's blue, I keep it with me. So now, like again, when I pick something else, it's not gonna be blue, it'll be a different color. So let's say I take pink and then again I take brown. So I'll just have 3 unique values in the randomly sampled set. But random sampling with replacement means first I take a blue ball, and then now I put it back inside the bag. So I have like I took one blue. And now again I pick another ball. It is pink. I put that also back. So now I could get the third attempt, I could either get a ball of a different color or I could again get blue or yeah, pink. So yeah, now the third chance I take a ball, it's again blue. So now my sample data is blue, pink, and blue. So this is random sampling with replacement. So here is how you do it with R. So you use the function sample of X, and X is the parent population or the superset. So it's either a vector of one or more elements from which to choose a positive integer. And you define the size. Let's say the parent population has 100 data points, but you just want 10. So here in place of size, you write 10. So size is a non-negative integer giving the number of items to choose from X. And then replace, like you have to tell R whether you want to do random sampling with replacement or without replacement. So with replacement, you write replace is equal to true. And for without replacement, you write replace is equal to false. So this is like the basic structure of the command. And here are some examples. So we define X is equal to 1 to 20. So here, like if you're defining continuous numbers, you don't have to write C bracket 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 4 up to 20. You don't have to do that. Just write 1 colon 20. So that gives you this. So X would be the numbers 1 to 20. So we have this. Now we want to do random sampling. So yeah, we have defined X. So you want to just sample 10 numbers from this, and with replacement is true. So a same number can be repeated twice. So R, it just randomly generates the thing. So it generates a vector of size 10, and with numbers with replacement, like the numbers can be replaced or you could also get unique numbers as well. It's just a random thing that R generates. So yeah, you can see repeated values here. So that's what happens when you use with replacement. So when you use replace false, you would not get these repeated numbers. And then like finally another like inbuilt command is to remove variable names from your session. Like for example, you do remove X, it removes the object X. And Yeah, so you can also remove multiple objects at once, like remove XYZ removes all these three variables. And finally, you just type Q bracket. So this is to quit R. Your R session is quit, and everything that you did, it's like either say like you might get a prompt if you want to save it or not. If you do it with R Studio, you can save it or you can just quit the session. So yeah, this is all about the lectures. And yeah, now maybe we could just start practicing, or we could look at some assignment problems. We have time. Okay. Just give me a minute. Yeah, so how many of you have R installed? Like R Studio? Can I just see a raise of hands? Maybe. I think Vandana is, are you saying? Okay, yeah. So if you have any problems in installing R or R Studio, please let me know. Anjana has installed. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. So if anybody has not installed, or if you have, yeah. So if any of you have problems installing, yeah, please let me know. We can just sort, we could use this time to sort that out. Because this whole course, like you'll have to do your assignments on R. Yeah, so it's also important that you have computers so that you could actually like practically do them, do it. Or if not, yeah, like you could just learn from this, but it's always better to practice. So only when you make mistakes and when you're stuck somewhere, you learn. So yeah, maybe I'll just, meanwhile, I can just show you our, um, how do I share my screen? Can you see my R studio window? Yeah, I hope that is seen. So like we said, we have four windows. This first window is for writing your script. Like here's an example of some script that I did for my project. So it has like a lot of commands. And this is the console. So like when you, like I'll just do this. Like when you press execute, so to execute it, you can just keep your cursor at that line and you press this run. It'll be executed. You could see it here on your console. And also like the startup message here, you could see what version of R you have. So I have R version 4.2. You could see all that information over here. And to create a new script, you do this arrow and R script. You can choose an R script. Here you can write anything. And also, yeah, any command that you write, like it becomes part of the R script. If you don't want the command to be executed, like if you want to just take notes for yourself, you first put a hash symbol at the start and you write this is for notes. So hash is called commenting out. So when you don't want a line to be executed, you put hash. So yeah, now I put x is equal to 20, it gets executed here. And now here I type x, you get the output 20. But now let's say I do y is equal to 6, 5. But I comment this out and then I press run, nothing happens. You can see blank, so nothing is executed. So adding hash is just for you taking notes. Like for example, like you will have multiple codes of line written. So yeah, you may get confused. Like later on, like after many days, if you come back to your script and see what you have done, you may not understand. You'll be like, oh, I don't know what this line does. So for that, you could just use this hash to take notes. You can say, I did this, like this command does this. It's just for taking notes. And you can also create something like, so this is the shiny web app that I mentioned. So if you do this, you can build a web application. So yeah, I'm just showing you the commonly used things. So you can create an R script, you can create an R notebook, R markdown. So R markdown is something that looks like it is saved as .rmd. So here is an example of a markdown file. So this is the specific format. Like it has to be this what is this? Hyphen. Yeah, three hyphen. And you have to write this information within it. So you give a title for the document, author, what date you created it, and the output, whether a HTML document. So you like whenever you write, so this is called a chunk. So this block of code is called a chunk. So yeah, whenever you create a chunk, you put this three, I don't know what it's called. You can find it below the escape button. So you write three of these, and within curly braces, you write R. So it's enough to write R, but for other information, like if you want, so sometimes for loading packages or while doing anything, you might get warning messages. So if you don't want to look at that warning messages, you can write messages equal to false. So yeah, these are just additional things. But this is the format where you can write. So now if I run this, execute this whole thing, the output would be a HTML file. Maybe, yeah, I can just try to show you. Computer is slow. So yeah, so when I execute that script, what happens is, see in that header. So the title would be like block letters, big team guys, like the authors, the date, and all that. So that each chunk of the code, you can see the script also, and the results would also be displayed in the same page. So yeah, these are just some plots that I had written in the script. Yeah, it's just so yeah, that's what markdown means. So yeah, we have seen how to create a new file, and we have seen what this window is used for. And this window here, like I said, it stores all your objects and it shows the information. Like we know we created X. So what is stored in X? Only 20 is stored. So it shows that. So I also have other objects that I have been working with. So for example, I created an object called V. No, this is just a it's a plot. Let's not look at that. So yeah, here I've created an object C. So it has 3,800 rows and it has 12 columns. So you could see, so what I'm trying to say is you could basically see the structure of the object you create with R in this window. So you can also look at it. You just click on this. Yeah, so if you click on this, what happens is view C gets executed. And what happens when you view C? This is a bit slow. So when you click on any of these objects here, I should have clicked on a smaller one. Yeah. So this is what C object has. So it has rows and it has columns. So these columns are basically some some, it could be like in this case, these are gene lists and these are like different cells. So this has some expression value of this gene in this cell. So it shows you the data if you just click on these. That is one thing. And here files. When you see files, you could actually browse through your local laptop. You can see what all files, folders you have in your laptop. And plots, here the plot will be displayed when you write a command to generate a plot. And then packages, you can see what all packages you have installed. And here's a short description of the package. Like let's search, look for ggplot. A B C D E F G ggplot. Yeah. So ggplot, you can see the description. Create elegant data visualizations using the grammar of graphics. Okay, that's a very fancy description.
plot.
But yeah, it just gives you like a short description of the package. It tells you which version of the package you have. And what are these? These are like to uninstall. Like if you click these, maybe remove, uninstall the package or something. This is the basic structure of R Studio. And let us now. So this is an assignment from previous year. I'll share this document with you. You could also like meanwhile, along with me, you can just run these. So this document just has like questions. So how many of you have R Studio open now? Or if not, it's fine. But yeah, it's just like it'll be better for me if I just know. You just give me a minute. And also like this R Studio, you could change the size of the window by just dragging these like border kind of things. Like you could drag this. Like if you want to see the plot, you make it, yeah, you can just, these sizes are changeable. Okay, let us look at the assignment. So the question here is which of the following is correct option to provide help in R? So let's say you don't know what the answer is. So what you just like execute all of these and see what happens. The first option, yeah, you executed it. It says error, could not find function help search. So there's no inbuilt function called help search. The next option is start help. So even with this, you get error. Like it says no function start help. Search help is also wrong. You don't get anything. And then finally help dot start. Yes, that works. So when it works, you don't get any error message or a warning message. You go to the next line, like when you press the correct thing. So now you can see the output here. Yeah, help start, you can see this. So it says start statistical data analysis with R. So here are links to so many manuals. So introduction to R, writing R extensions, like how to import data, and there are many things. Yeah, let's just click on one of these. Yeah, it tells you a whole thing. Table of contents. Yeah, it's like very detailed documentations of everything. So just authors. It tells you about CRAN. So yeah, it tells you like what you need to do to import spreadsheet, like Excel kind of data, like how to read Excel spreadsheets. It also shows some example things. So this is like a structure of a data frame. So yeah, it just tells you everything. So go to the previous page, you just click back arrow, it takes you back. So yeah, you could go through this, and it also like see under statistics you could see clustering, regression, smoothing, survival curve analysis. You could see all that. Like so it just so everything is well documented. So that's what you can get out of this. Then the next one is, which one of the following is the correct command to see a working example of package lim in R console? So there's a package called lim. It's it's basically used to construct models like linear regression models. So now you want to see how to use this. Again, you type. You want to see an example of how to use this package. So yeah, the first command was right, so it worked. So yeah, it tells you all information. So gives you examples. So this is like kind of control data, and treatment, it probably means plant weight. So yeah, they're looking at plant weight, control, and treatment. So treatment, this could mean that the plant was treated with some fertilizer or it was treated with some drug or something. So these are the weight numbers. So the weight is in like decimals. So it creates a generalized linear model. So so it gives you stepwise examples of how to perform the analysis. So you just type example package name. Like you could also, like if you want to know how ggplot works, you do example ggplot. So this is the correct answer here. Here, this was the correct answer. Now, what will be the outcome of the value z when the following commands are executed over R console? So this is like a 3-line command. So what you can do is, so execute x. So here x is 32 is assigned, and y is x power 3. So this would be 32 power 3. You execute y. Now let's say you just want to see what y is. So y is 32,768. And then z is y minus x power 4. So it is 3,02768 minus 32 power 4. So what is the value of z? It will calculate it. So we executed it. Now we want to see z. It is this minus 1015808. So yeah, this is the correct answer. So this is a similar thing. So y uses different functions, like it first performs this x power 5, like minus 9 power 5, and then minus 9 power 4. It does a subtraction. It takes the absolute value and then takes a square root. Now let's just execute all of these. And now if you look at z, it is minus 247 point something. 247. Yeah, so this is your answer here. And here you could see a very complex function. So here it will follow the board mass thing, and you just paste this, you'll find the answer straight away. You're not assigning these to any variable. So yeah, you just get the answer straight away. Now you could see that vectors. So multiple operations are done on these vectors. So this is one vector. This is one. Yeah, you divide these, multiply. Yeah, you could just execute these and see what outcome it is. And here, so double asterisk means this whole thing, like this is like, for example, whatever value you get here is raised to the power 3. Let's just try this out. So yeah, what happens here is 12 divided by 12 and then to minus 2. then 2 power 3, and then plus 3 into 121. What is it? So 363 plus, no, it just does it in a different order. So yeah, like for easier understanding, let me just show how this would work, like how you get this value here. So you just take the first element from each of these and you do 12 divided by, again the first element is 12, multiplied by -2 raised to the power 3 plus 3 into 121. So this gives you 355. So that is the answer in your first element. So similarly, it is computed for all the second values and all the third, all the fourth, and so on. Yeah, all these are so here it uses, like, it calculates the sum and it finds the minimum value. Yeah, it does all these operations, finds the square root and so on. Yeah, this is again similar operation. So yeah, let's now look at this plotting function. So the paired data on medicine given X in grams and reduction in blood pressure Y. So this is the dosage of the medicine. X is the dosage of the medicine. Y is the blood pressure in mmHg. So this data is for 20 people. So for in both these vectors, you'd find 20 data points. So which is the correct command to obtain a scatter plot of the following type in R for the given data? So they've given a plot. So this is something like a stair plot. Yeah, it's all like steps, horizontal and vertical lines connected. So it's a stair plot. So we saw that we have to use plot. No, let's first define X and Y in R. Oh, yes, it has to be. Yeah, like when you give a space, you have to do a slash. Like, yeah, it doesn't work like this. So now you run X, run Y. What happened? Y unexpected constant in Y. Okay, so I think, is this a space or? Yeah, so there's an unexpected space here, so that's why R showed an error. So it's not supposed to be a space. So you just remove that. Yeah, my computer is slowing down. Just give me. Yeah, you again run Y. Yeah, so Y is also executed. Somebody is asking a recorded video. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, but yeah, I can share the recorded video, but I'm pretty sure the recordings will be shared with you. Yeah, yeah, so yeah, it will be shared. So we will add these recordings into a Google Drive, and this Google Drive link will be shared to you. So yeah, you can find all these recordings. And you'll also find the slides. The presentations also will be shared with you. Yeah, my computer is slowing down, sorry. Rebuilding. You just run X and Y again. Now, what is the question? So they've asked what command do you use to get this kind of a plot? So we have to use S, first step plot. You hit return to see the plot. Okay. Yeah, so the plot, like you can see here, the plot is generated in this plot tab of your fourth window. So you can change the size to see the plot. And you can also see the full zoomed version of the plot. You can open this plot in a separate window. You can see this. Like, yeah. Let's also see how, like, if you don't specify this, what happens. Simply plot XY. It'll just give you a scattered plot. This doesn't make, yeah, this data, it has no trend. There's no linear relationship or anything. And let's see what happens if you do a
Yeah,
line.
recording in progress. Record हो रहा है video.
तू अपना
line plot.
अपना नहीं है जो
Yeah, now again, so these are some examples of logical operations
अभिषेक
and
कुमार
random
बोल
sampling.
होगा कोई
So if you simply write this,
डॉक्टर पूनम
I'm sorry. Yeah. So let's first define
हीना
X.
सोलंकी साक्षी डीओयू वंदना सब तो इंडियन ही लग रहा है बाहर का नहीं पड़ता है
Somebody,
कैसे
can you please unmute
नाम
yourself?
का वीडियो कॉल है
Yeah, so again, we have defined this X and we have to perform, like tell the output of this. So if you just write X is greater than 50, it tells you whether each element in this vector is greater than 50 or not. It just tells whether each element is true or false. So let's do that and see what happens. So yeah, like you can see, 70 is greater than 50 is true. So first element will be true. 35 is greater than 50 is false. So you find a false. So similarly for each element, this happens. Now what you want to do, this whole thing, what does this mean? So here you are subsetting this original vector. So you are subsetting only the values in X that are greater than 50. So when you do this, it only picks out the elements that are greater than 50. So it removes 35, 16, 17, 27. So all these are not found in this option. So this is basically subsetting it. Subsetting it based on a logical operation. And now this is a similar thing. It again subsets elements that satisfy this condition. What is this? X square minus 6 into x is greater than 300. Let's define this x again. So let's not subset first. Let's see what happens. So yeah, x square minus 6. So here x is 20. 20 square is 400 minus 6 into 20, 120. So 400 minus 120 is greater than 300. It's something less than 300. So this is false. So yeah, similarly you get for each element. So now you want to subset X that satisfy this. So it only picks the numbers that satisfy this condition. Now, which of the following is a possible outcome of this command? So here we are doing random sampling. So here we're defining X. So now this sequence is some new function. We have not seen this before. So what is this? So it's like a sequence. So we are creating a sequence. We are creating a vector. So it starts with 10. It ends with 40. And it increases by 3. So 10 plus 3 is 13. So the first element is 10. Second element is 10 plus 3. Second element is 13. Third element is 13 plus 3, 16, and so on up to 40. So now if you look at X, you can see 10, 13, 16, 19, 22. So you get a sequence of numbers that are incremented by 3 with the start and the end values. So that's what sequence function does. So this saves your time. Like you don't have to sit and type X is equal to C of 10, 13, 16, so this would take you some time. So instead of that, if you simply write this, it's much faster. What is the question? Yeah, so we have defined X. And now we do random sampling. So we sample X, we just pick 6 elements from X without replacement. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you want to check the length of something, you do length of X. It has 11 elements. So this original thing has 11 elements. So let's put the random sampled X in another object like Rx. And now we check the length of Rx. It should be 6 because we just sampled 6 elements from X. So let's just check if this has done the random sampling for 6 elements. Yes. So the length is 6. So this is how you just check if something has worked or not. So like you can find the length of a vector. So yeah, without replacement. So there's no replacement. Each are unique values. So I think what option? Where is the option? Oh, so this is like a random generation. So you might not find this answer in the values, but you can look at these and you can just think. Wait. So these are the elements of X. Now these are the given options. 25. There's no 15 in this list. So this cannot be an answer. Because random sampling means you just pick the elements from the parent data set. So 15 is not there, so it's wrong. 19, 10, even here 23 is not in this. So this option is also wrong. And here 25, 19, 10, 13, 37, 28. All of these are here. So this could be a right answer. And yeah, this option is wrong because 33 is not here. So the correct answer to this is this. So this is how you analyze your given options. Oh, they have already like given this. Okay. That's a similar thing. Now you define another X. See, it starts with 10, ends with 30, but it increases by 5. So it'd be 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? It's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Mm. What is- So you just have to sample X. So yeah, what are these? 30, 20, 25. So this cannot be a correct answer. 20, 15. That just gives you randomly sampled elements of the same size. Like it doesn't just pick two values because you have not defined how much values to pick. So it just randomly samples, it just rearranges the thing. But yeah, it randomly picks the numbers that are in the parent superset. And here you do with replacement. So you might find answers with repeating numbers. Like here, for example, you see 22 and 22. So this could be a correct option. So yeah, this is how you analyze it. So has anybody like worked along with me? Or yeah, you could practice at your own time. Like I think I've shared the document as well. So yeah, your week 1 assignment will also have such similar questions. And you could also just explore on your own as well. So yeah, this history, another history tab. It shows all the list of commands that you did. You're not connecting to any other server. So yeah, that's You can always let me know if you have any doubts or if you want assistance with something else or anything. I can share my email ID. My laptop is. And also, it will be helpful for me if some of you could just tell me what do you expect from these live sessions? So, like, whatever we did today, was it fine, or would you like me to do something else? Like, I don't know, like focus more on the theory, or yeah, you can just tell me whatever you want because yeah, you will find all the lectures online. You can look at that and solve your assignments. But apart from this, like this live session is basically for interaction. And yeah, so it's basically like up to you. It's for you. So anybody can just let me know how you want this to be. Numerical problems. Yeah, so I think yeah, we will get into that. We'll do numerical problems as well because today we just saw the introduction, so it's mostly like getting started. So this is my email ID, just in case. And I also noticed like some of you, like you were just randomly joining the links like yesterday morning. But yeah, just telling you that this session is just on Tuesdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Yeah. Yeah, is there anything else you want to discuss or tell me? I could just talk anything. How many people? 23 people. Yeah, all right. If there's nothing else, end today's class, and yeah, you could go ahead solving your week's questions. I mean assignments. Yeah, we could meet again next Tuesday. All right, thank you. Thank you. Yep. The more you practice, the more doubts you'll get, and yeah, you'll be more comfortable with R and coding in general.